All right, let's get started then, shall we? So, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. I hope you're keeping warm. I'm talking to you from our office in Windsor, rather chilly here. A short webinar this afternoon, transform your project and portfolio management, PPM Maturity, and drive project success. Fundamentally, for every organization, if we want to be successful, that is a key driver for that is successful projects, finish on time, at the right price, to the right level of quality. And to do that, we need to have good project management maturity. So this is a short whirlwind tour of developing maturity, a little bit of concept slides first of all. So as I said, I'm talking to you from our office in Windsor. Wellington, we are a project management consulting business. We, as part of that, are an APM accredited training provider and a Microsoft Gold partner. We're the only organization that holds those two badges. For those of you looking for a very formal, detailed maturity assessment, we are also P3M3 Axelos consulting partners, which means that we can undertake formal P3M3 maturity assessments as well as our own lighter maturity assessments as well. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but yes, we have a range of services all relating to project management, and whether that's training your staff, deploying Microsoft technology, or helping you develop your ways of working, your framework, your governance, we're involved in all those things. One of the joys of my job is I get to work with lots of different organizations. Here's just a sample. And you can see, I guess the key message here is it's organizations from almost every sort of industry, from universities to pharmaceutical, from financial to local government. And the one thing they all have in common, they're all running projects and looking to improve their project success, looking to achieve that by increasing their project management maturity. So how do we do that? What's the roadmap? What's the approach? What's the journey that we need to go on to successfully achieve higher level of project management maturity? I use the term PPM. I mentioned that at the beginning, project and portfolio management. That doesn't mean to say we're ignoring programs. It's assumed it's part of that. So what are the typical challenges? Well, hopefully none of these resonate with you. Hopefully you don't have any of these issues at all and in your organization, but common challenges, projects not being prioritized, not being formally approved. There's no one definitive list. Often when I start working with a client, one of the first questions is, how many projects have you got? Is there a definitive list? And in some organizations, there's multiple lists with different numbers on them, different actual totals of numbers of projects. And we might have different approaches being taken by projects as well, and project managers. Rather than the organization saying, this is our approach to projects of this type, of this style, we've got inconsistency in approach, poor visibility. And I would say the number one reason why projects fail, not that anyone ever says their project fails, but the number one reason why projects fail, scope creep or lack of scope definition. What is it we're actually trying to do? We often don't give ourselves time to plan. I'm not going to go through all of these, but some of these you'll be like, oh yes, this might be us. And of course, that monthly burden of producing highlight reports, status reports, potentially submitting them into the PMO, the portfolio office, who then reviews and then issues them out, very time consuming. I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. So a classic list, including red, amber, green, RAG KPIs at the end there. How's your project going? Is it on time? Red, amber, or green? Is it within budget? Red, amber, or green? And classically, if these are manual items, they may well get a kind of a polish of green as they go higher up through the organization as well. So challenges, these may resonate with you, some of these may resonate with you. Now, we do a large piece of research each year. Some of the data I'm going to present is from that report, the state of project management. We've been doing this research, as I said, for quite a few years, and as part of that, we ask a question not about specific project, but across project management across the organization. What are the biggest challenges? Number one and number two have been the same. They tend to swap places every now and again, but have been the same all the way through, all the years we've been doing this, I've got poorly trained project managers, and we're trying to do too many projects. So there's more on this list as well, including inconsistency in approach, poorly trained project sponsors, and so on. So hundreds of practitioners complete this survey with us every year, and it gives us a real good understanding of where the industry is. And again, hopefully this does not resonate with you. Hopefully you don't have any of these challenges, but they are very common. So they're the challenges. Let's look at solutions. The first is, I've talked about maturity. So what do I mean by that? And I'm just going to get my laser pointer, so hopefully you can see my laser pointer okay. Quite often when we're measuring maturity, we're looking at a 5-level maturity model. I'll just run through it. So if an organization is level 1, that means they're doing projects, but there's no formal approach. Different people are bumbling their way along based on their own possible skills, experience, and background. Level 2 is when the organization says, hang on a minute, for these big, important strategic projects, let's put something in place that supports them in a consistent way. The goal for any organization is to be level 3, where we've got a consistent, scalable project management approach for all types of projects, whether it's the strategic ones, local departmental ones, or whatever. The organization is providing that guidance. And by the way, we are going to share the slides afterwards as well. So if you're frantically taking notes or screenshots, don't worry, we'll share these afterwards. Level 4, level 5, to advanced levels of project management. That's great. Fundamentally, for most organizations, where we want to get to is level 3. We might not want to make the investment to get to level 4 or 5, but certainly 3 would be where we'd want to get to. So if that's our ambition, how is everyone else doing with that? So again, in our survey, we're asking hundreds of project management practitioners each year from across the UK and internationally as well. One of the big questions is, how satisfied are you with the level of maturity in your organization, project management maturity? And you can see that actually it's only about a third. And what's even more interesting, even more striking, is that over the years, that number has got lower and lower and lower. It started out a few years ago at around 50%, and every year it reduces. Now, that means either we're all getting worse at project management, and I don't think it's that, or people recognize what good is more. They then look back into their own organization and think, do you know what, we could actually be better at this. And of course, the projects, organizations are becoming more project centric as well. The emphasis on projects is increasing, and that also exposes the fact that maybe we've taken a project centric approach, but actually we've not really built a structure around that. So we definitely want to get to level 3 and just get into the detail of that a little bit more, just on a practical basis, because I want this to be a very practical session. What do I mean by maturity? This is just 4 examples. There are many others we could choose. 4 examples of when an organization has the characteristics of maturity or not. So for example, how often is a defined project management methodology or framework applied to projects? How often do we have that guidance? How often does the project manager and the project team create a scoping document, whether they call that a PID, a PMP, a project proposal, whatever they call it? Have we got a detailed scoping document that outlines what it is that we hope to do? And then once we're in the planning phase, we should hopefully build a schedule of activities, of tasks, maybe Microsoft Project or some other tool. Of course, is that plan going to be perfect? Of course not. But what we should be doing then is, as the project progresses, update that plan to reflect reality, what's actually happened. That probably gives us more information about our future forecasts, and we might tweak those as well. Now we've got 10% of the way through the project. On reflection, some of our estimating has been a little bit under or over. And then we should be comparing that current plan to the original plan that we put together, and we call that our original plan our baseline. How are we doing compared to our original plan? And if you ask a project manager, how's the project going? And they say, yeah, it's going pretty well. It's 50% complete. It's 75% complete. It's 22.5% complete. That is a very one-dimensional answer. What's far more informative is if a project manager says, yeah, I'm 50% complete, but by now, checking our original plan, we should be 60%, 50%, 20%, whatever it is. We're comparing against that baseline. So we should be able to compare our schedule against the baseline, our cost against the baseline, our resource profile against the baseline as well. And then finally, the fourth one here is about risk management. Do we engage in some risk management, or do we just cross our fingers, hope it all goes okay, and when it all goes pear-shaped, we just have an excuse and say, well, it was going fine, and then this happened. Okay, well, you should have thought of it. That's what risk management is. Now, you can see the data around this about how many organizations actually fulfill these characteristics. It's about 2/3 for most of them, and about obviously 50% for scheduling. Now, the people who answer this are project management practitioners. 70% of them have a qualification in project management. They have the job titles of project manager, program manager, PMO, project planner, coordinator. So we've not sort of randomly picked people in the street, and the answers are quite poor, I would suggest. We can certainly do better on these things, and hopefully this content will give you food for thought for your situation in your organization, your department as well. So a lot of work to do. But we know characteristics of maturity. We understand the 5-level chart. That's great. Okay, so how do we achieve higher level of maturity? Well, it isn't just about training staff. It isn't just about deploying a software solution. It isn't just about reviewing our governance and ways of working. It's actually a combination of these things. And whenever we talk to an organization about developing their capability, their maturity, all these areas are worth discussion. So have we got a delivery framework, a defined approach to selecting, planning, running, and closing projects based on stage gates with supporting documents and clear guidance for planning, risk management, change management, benefits tracking, all these sorts of topics? And that needs to be accessible, and that needs to be something that non-professional project managers can understand and use and see as a benefit, not bureaucracy. So therefore, we definitely need some training people in best practice project management, giving them support as they run projects. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more shortly. And someone needs to own this approach and champion best practice project management, and probably provide assurance independently for the organization on projects on behalf of their sponsors, and provide that reporting and enable informed decision making. And of course, that's our PMO. And making sure the PMO is adding value itself as well. And hopefully the PMO is leveraging the latest technology, and the project teams are using the latest technology. We are a Microsoft Gold partner. I'm going to talk about Microsoft technology, and I'm sure many of you are using Teams. Maybe some are using the standard desktop planning tool, which is Microsoft Project. But in actual fact, the conversation has moved on significantly, and lots of options for collaboration using Microsoft technology, which I'll talk briefly about shortly. So if we're looking to improve our maturity, if we're looking to get to stage level 3, we need to consider all of these elements, not just one of them. And going back to processes and methodology, one of the set of questions we asked a lot is about, for this list of standard project management processes, we asked hundreds of practitioners about which of these provided the most value and which of these were the most difficult to embed. So if you are on that journey and you're looking to improve your project management maturity, this gives you a bit of guidance. There's no doubt there's great value in resource management, benefits realization, project prioritization, and lessons learned. They score relatively low value because in our data, very few people have achieved it, so they can't quote high value. But there's no doubt that those that do, so that's why they're not probably appearing in this top quadrant here. But there's no doubt they are immense value. What is also no doubt is they're more challenging to implement. So if you're on that journey, probably start at this end of the scale with things like stakeholder engagement, good risk management, planning, change control, having good governance. These are, to use that business speak, low-hanging fruit. These are easier wins. Let's get everyone better at risk management. Let's teach people about stakeholder engagement, stakeholder mapping, project communication. Let's get those in and build over time, rather than trying to deploy all these processes in one go. Let's do the easy ones first, demonstrate value and build on that, and then we'll get to lessons learned. Then we'll talk about project prioritization and so on. So hopefully that gives you some guidance, particularly so that if you're partway or starting or on this journey of developing maturity, there are areas that are easier to succeed in, to deploy, that provide great value, and hopefully this gives you that kind of guidance. So let's talk about training. In lots of organizations, it seems we need to train people to fulfill their role, to operate machinery, to operate equipment. But there seems to be a lack of training actual people who are going to run the projects that drive and achieve our strategy. Why are project managers not trained? They should be trained in our agreed approach, and of course in best practice project management. And the APM, the Association for Project Management, the chartered body for project management in the UK, there's a great set of qualifications there, from the 2-day APM PFQ, Project Fundamentals Qualification, the 5-day PMQ, the Project Management Qualification, and beyond that, there's then an opportunity to even be a chartered project manager, the same way you can be a chartered accountant or a chartered engineer. The other area as well, and so therefore there's always a question there. I said, well, I was working with a client, a fire service actually, and I was with the senior leadership team, and there was a part of a meeting, and we were talking about training and the importance of training, and I said, slightly tongue-in-cheek, you know, could I drive one of your fire engines? And the joking answer back was, yeah, of course you can, Vince. Here you go. And of course, the real answer is, well, no, because you need to be trained. Okay, so why if I need to be trained to drive a fire engine, and rightly so, why do I not need to be trained to deploy, to run a strategically important multi-million-pound project? The same philosophy applies. Let's train those doing these roles. And that also goes to the sponsors as well. I'm sure for some of you, think about the people who are sponsoring your projects, senior managers, but no one's really briefed them on what is the role of sponsor. It's not the same as day-to-day line management in any way. Let's train our sponsors as well. So in actual fact, really what we want is to have clear understanding of roles and responsibilities. What is the role of the sponsor? What is the role of the project manager in our organization? Have that delivery framework, that document that outlines, this is our approach to selecting, planning, running, closing projects. Take the project management language out of it, make it accessible. There's no point in having something that's really complex that we just lose half the stakeholders. We need people to be bought into this. So probably worth a refresh. And then train practitioners on your PPM framework. This is how we do it in our organization. Think of that new person who joins the organization and they're asked to run a project. Okay, so what's our approach? We should be able to give them that practical, accessible guide to running projects aligned with your governance framework. And ideally, of course, establish formal training, recognizing it's a career path, recognizing there's a route here from project coordinator to project manager to sponsor, and there are formal qualifications that support that process as well. And to make that engage the community in it, I very much recommend establishing a community of practice for project management. You know, project managers tend to be relatively isolated. I'm a project manager on my project, you're a project manager on your project. We're kind of doing the same challenge, but but not comparing notes on a day-to-day basis. Let's get these people together so they can voice their views on the framework. They can help improve that. They can help even mentor more junior colleagues as well, and probably involved in assurance on behalf of the PMO as well. So engaging that community and recognizing project management as a profession, is a skill set. You may well have lots of expertise, but we need to bring those people together. So training, definitely one area. Another area, technology. Again, our survey data talks about, have you got access to real-time project KPIs? Well, more than 50% of organizations don't. And whatever job title people have, whether they're a project manager, PMO, program director, about a third of people spend at least a day or more every month creating manual reports. Now, with the technology, we can just eliminate that. We can use Microsoft Power BI to automate all of that. There's a massive saving to be made there on in efficiency and productivity by eliminating that manual reporting. So looking at the Microsoft technology, if you've got Office 365, you already have a tool called Planner, you've got Teams, and there are big brother versions of Planner, Project for the web. We can use the Power Platform for a full enterprise project management solution. Very much moving on from the old world of Microsoft Project, the desktop tool, and Microsoft Project Online, the enterprise extension to that as well. Very much moved on. So other hot topics within the industry, I think it's always worthwhile reviewing other hot topics. Change management. This is not change control. Change management is a big topic in the industry and has been for a while. It's getting more and more awareness or desire to implement this. Projects are not just about delivering outputs, tangible assets. We've done the project, we've implemented the IT solution. No, it's not about that. It's actually about that wider, the outcomes and the benefits. That change journey doesn't end with the software deployed. It continues through to make sure we actually do get the end benefits. So recognizing that the journey that people need to go through, it's not just focusing on delivering that asset. Hybrid. So no longer we talk about agile versus waterfall, and in fact the APM talk about iterative and linear. But we recognize that within a single project, there may be elements that are run best in an iterative way and others in a linear way, therefore giving us hybrid. It's not one versus the other. This is a set of tools and approaches that a good project manager will pick the appropriate tools for that appropriate part of scope, work stream, and so on. Lessons learned. Every organization is terrible at this. And that's a sweeping statement, isn't it? Most organizations are terrible at this. We finish the project, we say, thank goodness for that, we have our champagne, and then we immediately move on to the next project. There's no reflection back. It is worth the time and effort at key points along the journey of a project and at the end to reflect back. What went well? Let's do that again. What didn't go so well? Oh, let's modify our approach. A lesson is only learned if future behavior is changed. So just putting it on a list and ticking the box, say, well, I've done my lessons learned, that's frankly wasting everyone's time. We need to change future behavior. And it is worth that investment. ROI, return on investment, great return on investment when people actually do lessons learned. And the reality of it is projects often finish, the project team disappears, we can't do it. So quite often, therefore, the only way to do it is right near the end before the project team runs for the hills. And better collaboration. Of course, we're all working in very different ways now. And Microsoft Teams, as I mentioned already, Microsoft Planner, the Big Brother version Planner, Project for the web, and the Power Platform all provide great collaboration options that any organization should be looking at if they don't have a project and portfolio management enterprise solution. You will have licensing for some of this already, and can really make our project management very accessible. These are very intuitive tools, and something that strongly recommend. So hot topics. Next steps. So what I suggest you do is think about how successful are our projects. You know, we claim each one is a success. Did we finish it on time? Did we just keep moving the goalposts? Did we do it within budget? Did we keep adding further funding to it? Did it deliver on the benefits? What's our current capability? Do we have trained project managers? Do we have trained sponsors? Do we have tooling? Do we have a value-adding PMO? Do we have a project management delivery framework? Now, rather than just kind of pose these questions, because you also want to think of, okay, so where do we want to be? And think about the journey that you want to go on. Think of those 4 pillars of the PMO, the delivery framework, the technology, the support and training. And in fact, just to help you, on our website, they're absolutely free to download, and you're very welcome to use. We've got an opportunity for you to do, we call it an MOT, review of your PMO. And as an individual, you can also review your own project management skills. There's a competence framework there as well. So feel free to share that with colleagues. It examines individual experience and knowledge across 40 or 50 project management competencies, and very similar here again, specifically for the PMO. So that will help you consider, where are you, what is your current maturity, and help you think about where you want to get to. So hopefully this has been practical, but it's always important to say, well, here's some practical tools you can actually use. They're free. Feel free just to go ahead and download them from our website there. And I think you go to About, and we've got ebooks and MOTs there. So that's me. I've done. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if there's any questions. My colleague Elena might interrupt me in a moment and say if there's any particular questions that anyone had that is worth looking at. But as I said before, I just asked Elena, all the slides I presented will share with you. And of course, if you want to talk about your organizational structure, your organizational project management maturity, my details are there. Love to talk to you. Thanks very much for your time. I hope this has been practical and useful and given you food for thought while you go towards the Christmas break. Maybe you'll ponder, actually, for 2023, let's improve our approach, think about tooling, methods, training, all great investments, improve your project management, therefore enable your organization to achieve its strategic goals. Stay warm. I wish you all Merry Christmas, and thanks very much for attending. Thanks very much.